So me and you've been having a lot of off-camera discussions, and a lot of the stuff we don't put online because it's maybe abrasive
Mhm.
or
Put
above.
pushing the
You know
envelope.
what I mean? Yeah, I mean. So, but a real interesting conversation we've been having lately is about the idea of original sin.
Original sin. Yeah.
Would you mind going into what you think or what your perspective is on that?
This this subject right, we're talking about a plethora of things, but
Yeah.
this subject right here is is the buttress of Christianity.
Okay.
And the original sin goes back to, for most of those don't know, if you can once you can Google it and Wikipedia come up and tell you, it's pretty much the sin in the Garden of Eden that Adam and Eve committed by eating from the fruit from the tree. Some may say apple or whatever. But I just thought more about that after doing some research. And oftentimes we get all of our facts from the Bible, but we don't understand that there were holy books that preceded the Bible, and we don't understand how the Bible came to be. And we think of Christian or Christianity as being with the Catholic Church, but Christian and Catholic Church or Catholic are two separate things. Catholics are Catholic first, Christian second. That's one. The next thing, when Christianity was created under the Nicene Christian, that's a designation, there were already Christian Jews, there were already Christian Greeks, and these different Christian organizations that existed before the Catholics came along and classified themselves as Christian under Constantine. Now, the whole idea of it was built off the original sin, saying that man inherited sin because the sins of Adam and Eve. What bothers me is the Bible is not a very friendly book to women. The Bible does a lot to suppress and place women into servitude. And that has always bothered me. And it's bothered me the most because every blessing that I've experienced for the most part has came through a woman. Just being totally honest, it has. And then understanding how the universe works. The universe works through the divine feminine, the feminine principle. There's only one way to get to this planet, and that's through a woman. I don't care if you're going to clone something, it still has to be the feminine principle that brings about that life, period. So, why was it so important for this version of Christianity, the Nicene Catholic version of Christianity, to suppress the woman? You go back to the original sin. You go back to the Garden of Eden for those of you that know the story. This is going to be controversial, but we're just going to have a conversation. And I'm open to your opinion. I'm willing to hear about it, what you think, if it's separate from what I think. There's no judgment here. I just like to have intellectual conversation. Um, Going through the story, the serpent talks to the woman and tells the woman that you will be as God, you won't surely die, so on and so forth. The woman takes the fruit or the apple, however you want to classify it, and she bites into it. After she bites into it, what's the first thing she do? She handed to Adam. And then Adam at that time bite. Did she tell him to bite? Did she instruct him to bite? Okay. According to the Bible, the Christian Bible, um, Eve was made as Adam's what? Helpmate. She was made from the rib that God took out of Adam to make her. All the language there puts her as subservient to Adam and to help Adam. Okay. Now, based on just how we see life, period, whenever you see something labeled as the help, they don't make decisions. So if that were the case, why did the serpent go talk to Eve first? Now, some may try to say, well, because she was the weaker vessel. Okay. I don't necessarily believe that, but okay. We'll say she was the weaker, so they approached the weak vessel first. Okay. So if she were the weaker vessel and she bit the apple or the fruit, why did she then turn and hand it to Adam? She didn't tell Adam to bite or eat nothing. There was not an argument. She handed it to him second, or what should I say, second. She took it first. And when Adam got it second, what did he do? He bit it. Does that sound like somebody in charge to you? According to the Bible, God gave Adam directions initially. He's the one that told Eve what God said. God never told Eve nothing of what tree to eat from or whatever. Adam told her. And if you look back at the kind of trees it was in that garden, Adam didn't necessarily tell her the truth either. Adam told her don't eat of one tree that God said that they could eat from. But you go back and look at that yourself. Now, thinking in terms of just a whole nother way, if a mother has a child and she puts some in the child hand, the child isn't interested in it, then she takes it, what she does? She bites it first. Then she does what? She hands it to the child. What does the child do after he see her bite it first? The child bites or eats because he's seen her do it first. So what am I saying? I do not believe Adam was in control of that whole process in the Garden of Eden. If you dig deeper, you find out in some schools of thought that the Garden of Eden was not even in manifestation yet. It was pre-manifestation. It was in the spiritual or in the spirit. And after the eating of the fruit, there was the fall where they became physical. But did you know that there are other texts that precede the Bible by a very long time that talks about Adam had a first wife? Yeah. Adam had a wife before Eve. Her name was Lilith. Lilth, I believe. Lilith. Look that up. And you will see that this book predated the book that we understand, that we call the Bible. And it was also recorded in different cultures. This wife of Adam, that was his first wife, she left Adam. And guess why she left him? I'm going to tell you in a minute. You can read up on this. I'm in the neighborhood, but I'm coming off the top of the head. And if I'm not mistaken, God approached her while she was swimming and asked her, why did she leave Adam? She says she left Adam because she did not want Adam to lay on top of her. And they asked her why. She said, why should I let something or a being that's not superior to me be on top of me? Lilith is the feminine principle. Now, you got the Catholic Church, whoever like to describe her as a demon and all these other things, like they've called the one woman in the Bible a whore and all these other things that they like to call women. My point is this. I do not believe that Adam was superior to Eve in that garden. I believe Eve was superior to Adam. That's why the snake approached her first. Look up the history of the snake. Look at the history of the word Sophia. There is a statue of Sophia being wrapped up by a snake or something of that nature, with the looking of distress on her face. But if you look at the history of the serpent, you will see the history of the serpent has always represented, prior to the Catholic Church, wisdom. And then you see the statue is called, which is a Greek statue, a woman called Sophia. It's called Sophia. Put the two words together, you have philosophy, the love of wisdom. So, I could go deeper on the subject, but I won't. I believe that that whole process there was part of an agenda which was part of the Catholic Church taking on an ideology that came from the Zoroastrian or came from Persia. And that ideology was sin was associated with debt. Sin became debt. So the objective was to take the power of the woman, or take the woman out of power, because prior to that Bible, you had a philosophy that placed the man first, and that word was the patricia. You have patriotic, you have patriot, you have all the things associated with male that comes from that word, which a word of aristocratic or inheritance that goes through the male. Prior to that, all office of royalty or anything that was inherited, it was inherited through the woman, the bloodline of the woman, not the male. In Egypt, when you were born, when you were in a royal household, the men were born without title. The only ones that were born with title was the female. And the male marrying the female is what gave him office of king or royal title, was through the bloodline of the woman. When the patricia, or the concept of the European, what will become Europe, came along, it was transferred through the male. If you look at the 1455, 1492 documents of the Catholic Church that basically created slavery on a global scale, it classified slavery as hereditary servitude, mean anything born through a woman, the child would inherit slavery. And if you look at the whole original sin concept, it talks about inheritance. Inheritance not of an actual act, but inheritance of a nature of sin. To me, that was the beginning story to strip a woman from all power and place her into a vassal or vassalized state, and then classifying her by law as property. You can find that under the conflict of orders. 400, I think it's 400 or 500 BC to 260 something BC, where she will be classified as property. That's why she is the property of the husband. Eve, under that concept, even though not stated, was the property of Adam because she was made from his rib, allegedly. So she becomes his property. So any children she bear for him also becomes his property. And under the philosophy of that idea, property cannot own property. So, women, what am I saying to you? I do not believe at that time, perceiving it in a spiritual perspective and according to divine law, that Adam was the head of Eve and was in charge. I believe it was Eve that was in charge. And Adam was, as the statute of the Black Madonna, as they say, mother with child. And Adam was a child in a child's state of mind, as indication reflected by the biting of the apple by her and handing to him. The same thing a mother does with the child. Child's not interested in nothing. She said, ooh, good. And then hands it to the baby. And what does the baby do? Don't say nothing. He eats. But that's from my perspective. I'd like to hear your thoughts on it. Put it down below. And at the end of the day, I'm your man. I guess I say Unc or Wayne. Y'all got to help me come with a name. I can't keep calling myself Cocaine Wayne. Tell me what y'all think. But either way, subscribe. We're going to get into a lot of other good stuff. Deuces.